Green Lantern Corps number 25, written by Van Jensen and Robert Venditti, art by Ivan Fernandez, Alan Jefferson, and Vic Druginiu. So, 0 year. Because if you remember, John Stewart was a member of the Marine Corps. So, yeah. Anyway, we cut back to 20 years ago in Detroit. It seems that a bunch of auto workers are on strike, and Jon Stewart's mom is kind of the organizer of the whole strike. She's there shouting out like, yeah, what do we want? When do we want it? And John's sitting there as a, 7-year-old, give or take. And she's just like, why are we even, you don't even work for this company. I don't like that we don't have just normal jobs and that we have to keep on showing up here for like these things. And she's like, all right, well, let me tell you why this is important. And it's spread across the entire story, but it's very hard to tell broken up in that way, recounting it. So essentially, the story is that way back when she was a child, her family basically threw this party for this one employee, this community, and they had alcohol, but they didn't have a liquor license, so therefore they got raided and they were kind of just marched out in front of a bunch of people in the community. But the people in the community were like, well, now hold on, these are just upstanding members of the community. They're not doing anything wrong. So they got into a spat with the police. It started escalating and the police fled. But then it started escalating from there into like full-scale riots and looting and stuff. So more police were brought in as well as actual military. They started enacting things like curfews and whatnot. And the mother was actually happy to see that the criminals, the rioters and whatnot, were being taken away because she thought that was fair. However, she also saw a lot of police brutality, and one time when she was heading home, her and her family were actually detained outside their house until curfew passed, so that way she would be able to be punished for that. And mind you, this is all primarily families of like color and stuff like that. So then one day, a man who was a soldier, who was brought in along with the rest of the National Guard here, then also lived in this area. He stood up for them. He talked the police down, and they showed how important it was that rules are not meant to be blindly followed. It's about what's right that you need to analyze that, because people in power are still fallible. So all that's told over the course of the whole issue. It integrates, but like I can't stop to pause and say that each time. So anyway, Superstorm's coming into Gotham, and we see there's an evacuation notice. There's a bunch of people inside the Gotham Stadium, and the Marines are being sent in to basically gather as many people as they can here and bring them out to get them all out. And already the Marines are like, this town is a rat's nest. It does not deserve to be saved. Can we just leave? But John's like, excuse me, this is your country. You better treat it as such. So they make their way down the hallways of the stadium, and they're expecting a few hundred people. But then when they get to the core, they see that apparently it's thousands of people are here. The art does not reflect that, but they say it does. And so as they get in, they start calling out the orders and saying like, all right, everyone, you need to evacuate. Let's go. We got boats waiting. Let's form an orderly line. And then this man in a mask with an Anarchy symbol on his chest, named Anarchy, who is an established DC character, comes out and basically says, excuse me, you cannot tell us what to do. We have reclaimed this stadium, and we do not abide by whatever rules you think you can just throw in here. And they're like, bro, we're here to help. We're here to fix that. I don't know what you think is going on here, but we're here as an evacuation mission. So get your ass to the door. And then all of a sudden, Anarchy tases the leader of the Marine unit, and an all-out fight breaks out where the Marines are basically surprised, and all the people around start attacking them. Not all of them, but a decent amount have, bats and stuff to attack with. So the Marines are handcuffed, they have their guns taken away, and they're brought into a cage in the middle of the stadium, and they're put in there. And Anarchy basically throws out being like, see, this whole stadium was built on your old homes. Like, it was built as a you have to pay to come here. That's not like, this was your land. It was taken away. This should belong to you. And now it does again. And we're not going to let anybody ever take us away from this again. And so anarchy is basically saying, yeah, no, this is a state of anarchy now. So at that point, John's looking over his troop and they're all just like, okay, what do we do? The head is still out. The guy in charge is still out. So John's like, I remember seeing a Super Bowl halftime show here when all of a sudden the lead act just appeared out of the ground, seemingly from nowhere. And he taps his foot around a little bit and finds a trapdoor. So he has some of the other people in the cage provide cover as they start making their way down into the tunnels beneath. But they are caught out. They are seen. And Anarchy's men are about to fire on them, but Anarchy stops them. Says it doesn't matter. They can't get their way out there anyway. So they go through the tunnels and they find that the doors are all chained up and it doesn't seem like there's any way out. And then all the lights go out and Anarchy and his men are down in the tunnels and they start beating up the Marines again. But then John takes notice of his surroundings. He pulls a pipe off the wall, which then provides some superheated steam all over Anarchy's men. But they do have a couple of the Marines still in their grasp. So at that point, John and the men make their way to just kind of a maintenance room where they get some tools that they can turn into makeshift weapons. And they say, all right, we're going to go up there. We're going to overwhelm them. We're going to take back what we need. But first we need to get our guns back. So find where those are. And that's our first goal. So they bust out through some doors. They find the men who took their guns and they start fighting them to get them back. And as one of them is down on the ground, the leader of the troop is basically like, all right, we had explosives with us. We don't see those now. Where are they? Guy's not talking. And the lieutenant is just like throwing punches to the point where he's about to kill him. And John intervenes and says like, hey, no, we can't go to that level. We can't kill them. He's still a citizen. And one of the people chimes up saying like, hey, they stole our guns and threatened to kill us. That's authorizes lethal force. And John's like, yeah, it doesn't mean we have to use it though. So at that point, they start making their way out towards like the central area. Anarchy has the captured Marines tied up with guns to their heads. And it's basically coming to a powder keg. And the Marines are being ordered, shoot them, take them all out, whatever it takes to get our men back. John realizes this isn't going to solve anything and we shouldn't be doing this. So he pulls a few flashbangs, throws them out into the center, and it causes enough distraction that he's able to get over to Anarchy and knock him out. And he picks up Anarchy's megaphone and says, everyone, we're not here to take you against your will. If you would like to be evacuated, you can do so now. If you're being held here against your will or you need help moving, raise your hand and we will come to assist you. Otherwise, you're welcome to stay here. We're not about to kick you out, okay? And so one by one, a bunch of people all chime up and they realize like, yeah, no, I kind of want to go. This seems like it got out of hand a little quickly here. So they all start making their way out. They bring out Anarchy in cuffs. But as they go to remove his mask, he has his own little flashbang. He takes off his hoodie and he manages to disappear into the crowd. And at this point, John's like, okay, forget that. Just focus on the people, get them all back. And the lieutenant comes up being like, excuse me, Stewart, this is not your troop. You are not in command here. And you went against the direct order I gave you. You will be court-martialed for that. And he's like, oh yeah, try it. Because then I'll tell them how you were willing to kill American citizens for like no reason at all. And the guy goes to throw a punch and John just takes him out, throws him upside down. And he's like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm out. And he takes off his jacket and he tells his people, like, yeah, get the buses moving, get them all out. And he starts walking through the streets of Gotham and he's talking to himself like, maybe I made a mistake, but I can't be part of the Corps anymore. It's not, that's what it comes to, is that I have to go against my conscience. It's not worth it. And we see Batman is standing on a rooftop nearby listening to what he's saying. And he's like, oh, all right, guess this was taken care of. And he just disappears as John goes to look at him. So finally, the last thing is little John Stewart was listening to his mother's story the whole time about her parents and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh my God, that's awful. So what happened? Did the riot stop? And he's like, yeah, the riot stopped. But like, not everything got better immediately. There was a lot of racism. Like, there still is a lot of racism. That's the kind of thing that we're trying to deal with. Power is not good on its own. You need to be a good person with power. So she hands John the megaphone and says, look, take this, keep their spirits up. That's all that we're trying to do here. Just make them understand that they can get something more out of this than being treated unfairly. And yeah, that's the issue. I really like this one. I think that I did it a disservice in how I delivered the story, but it was really hard to recount it on the way the story actually told it. But it does a great job of balancing these two things and showing how different elements of the story impacts what John is doing at the given time where he's remembering it. So yeah, it's solid. It has nothing to do with Batman or Zero Year. Like, there is no reason for this to happen except that Anarchy is traditionally a Batman villain. But even beyond that, like, this could have been sent at any time just as a flashback, and it would have still been a great story. So overall, I think this is probably... Honestly, I'll give this one like an 8. I think this one, it has something to say. It says it well. It's a great just little one-and-done issue if you're interested in not even just Jon Stewart's backstory, but just a solid story overall. So yeah, I'll give it an 8. I really did like it.